It's always impossible until someone does it. Well, that someone is you, and the time is now. What is up, everyone? I'm Rob and welcome back. Now, masking can be a very creative way to customize your transitions and give your work that personal touch. Today, you'll be learning how to make 3 super easy masking transitions all within Final Cut Pro with no plugins required. But before we go any further, do spank that like button and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Now let's get into it. Okay, the first transition we're going to go over is the object wipe transition. Now, of course, you have your 2 clips on the timeline, and the reason I chose these 2 clips is because I wanted to tell a story and not just show you guys a transition. As you can see, the first clip is of a city street, and if you're not from the city, you probably won't know where it is, but I wanted to give clues, so I chose the second clip, and as you can see, we're going downtown in the direction of Brooklyn on the subway. So the reason I chose this clip is because there's an actual object, hence the name object wipe transition. There's an object crossing the screen, and what you want your object to do is completely fill the frame, because that's the only way this transition is going to work. And so as you can see, I highlight the clip, I press M because that's the point where I want the transition to start on the first clip, and on the second clip I want it to start about right here where I kind of go down into the subway, but you can actually see what's going on right there, downtown in Brooklyn on the subway. So now we have some clues as to where we're going. We're not just transitioning between 2 clips, we're telling a story. So what I want to do is cut the second clip before we go down and past the sign. I take the second clip, I place it underneath the first clip, lining it up with the first marker, and so now we begin to build the transition around this framework. Go over to the effects browser, make sure that all is selected on the left under the effects, type in draw, and then place the draw mask on the top clip. The next thing we want to do is invert the mask in the inspector window and then scale down the viewer window to about 12.5, or at least scale it down so you can see outside of the viewer window. Now I'm choosing this point on the clip because this is where the truck passes through the frame completely, and now it starts to reveal the street again. This time what we want to do is create about 5 or 6 control points, and when we complete the mask, what we see happening is the second clip starts to peek through on the first clip. Go to the Transforms tab, click the Position keyframe, and then scroll down to the Control Points keyframe. They turn yellow, so that's how you know they're active, and then you go back to the markers that you set on the timeline. And as you scrub through the timeline, you want to use the hard back edge of the truck. Now you can get fancy and add the control points to keyframe the bumper and all that, but I just used the back of the truck and cut out the bumper. I just want it to be simple for this tutorial, but you can get as advanced as you want. The key here is to make sure the mask is hard on the back edge of the truck. And because you've already set the keyframes, all you have to do is scrub through the timeline frame by frame, continuing to keep that hard edge on the back of the truck. So all you do from this point on is keyframe the mask until the second clip is completely on screen. And when we play it back, it's a seamless transition from one clip on the top city street to the second clip going down on the subway. And there you go, that's your first transition down, the object wipe mask transition. Okay, the second transition that we're going to cover is the zoom mask transition. I chose these 2 clips because I thought it'd be pretty cool to roll a lens across the desk and then zoom in through that lens into the second clip. The tricky part I found about this is I did this all on my own. I had to roll the lens across the desk, and yes, that is my kid's toy truck that you see me rolling my camera on because I don't have a slider. And so the difficult part about this was keeping the lens center frame. I didn't quite succeed, but I came close enough. So in order to counteract that, what I had to do was scale the clip up and then reposition it to the middle. Because I don't know, it looks better to zoom into the middle of the screen as opposed to the side of the screen or the bottom of the screen. So we're going to zoom into the middle of the screen. Once we have the lens centered, the next thing we're going to do is position the bottom clip where we think we want the transition to begin happening. After we've done that, what I do is cut the top clip right where the bottom clip lines up underneath. And this is moving pretty fast for me, so I'm going to slow the top clip down to about 40%. And that's all up to preference, it's all up to you. I just think it looks better at 40 rather than 50 or 30 or 25. This is my preference, so I'm going to go with that. It gives me enough time for the lens to roll, for you to understand what's going on, and then to zoom into the lens. Next thing we do is we go over to the effects tab, make sure all is selected, and then we type in shape. The shape mask appears, we drop it onto the first clip, or the second part of the first clip that we cut. We invert the mask, and then we change the curvature and the radius to match the iris of the lens. Once we have it positioned exactly where we want it to be, we now have to keyframe the mask to the lens. For that, we go back to the beginning of the clip. Go over to the inspector window, hit transforms, set a keyframe for position, and then we scrub through the clip, and frame by frame, we center the mask. Once that's done and we play it back, we can see that the mask is keyframed to the lens. Half the battle down, half the battle to go. The next thing you want to do is scale the clip of the lens up to give that zoom effect. So we highlight the top clip, go to the beginning of the clip, hit the scale all, keyframe, and it'll keyframe X and Y. And then we go to the end of the clip and scale it all the way up, and then we just position the lens in the middle of the screen so that when we zoom in, we're zooming in from outside of the lens through the iris in the middle of the frame. And when we play it back or scrub through it, it looks like this. And now you can add on any transitions or whatever you want to make the edit look even better. 2 down, 1 more to go. The third transition we're going to cover is the door mask transition, and it just might be my favorite because it's so easy. It follows the principles of the first 2 transitions, but this is pretty simple. The key to this transition is actually in shooting the clip. First of all, you want to record yourself opening the door, but remember to keep the camera on the opening of the door because that's where the transition will begin. So you go over to your effects browser, you get your draw mask, drop it on the first clip, and then you start adding your control points. Go over to the inspector window, click invert mask. Now when you add your control points, remember, minimize the screen so you can add the control points outside of the frame. And what I like to do is line the door where the opening is, and then go outside of the frame or the viewer and click about 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 times, and then complete the mask by clicking back to the first point. The reason I put down so many control points is because sometimes you need more points to get the precise transition. For instance, for this transition, I'm gonna have to outline the door jamb, and my fingers because all of that plays a role in this transition. And you'll see why in a minute. So as I open the door, after I set my position and control points keyframe, I just continue to outline the door, my fingers, and the jamb. So as the door opens, continue to add the control points until the door is completely off screen and the second clip is completely on screen. And then when you play it back, it's a seamless transition from the first clip to the second clip. Now never mind the hard edges, because as long as you stick close to the door opening, you should be okay. If you mess it up, you can always click back on the timeline and readjust the mask, or you can take the easy route out, go over to the inspector window and feather the mask, and that gives you a nice smooth edge between the two clips. So you've successfully created and completed 3 masking transitions. Super easy, all in Final Cut Pro 10 without any plugins, in a matter of minutes. Super easy, super simple, super quick. That's the name of the game, baby. Alright, now I bet you didn't think it would be that easy, but that's the thing about becoming a professional. We make things that would otherwise seem impossible look like a walk in the park. Now, watch this video right here, right now, to learn how to create a 3D interactive heads-up display hologram in just 10 minutes. I know, I can't believe it either, but it's the truth. Click it, and I'll see you there.